Shut up and refill more popcorn. Shut up and refill more popcorn.
Waka waka guys, welcome back to another Bizarro Shut Up and Refill My Popcorn Extra Butter Feed episode. This time covering Revenge of the Nerds from 1984, and I'm joined by special guest CJ Emanuel. If you remember episode 96, me and CJ covered Be Cool, and you're probably asking yourself, wait a minute, did you cover the Revenge of the Nerds franchise? Like, what's going on here? I haven't yet. This movie was brought to my attention by CJ, and you know me, I'm always down to have guests. And CJ's a really cool dude, and I like picking his brain on comedy and everything. So it's gonna be a two-parter because I had some technical difficulties. So this one is gonna be the first conversation we had, and then I'll drop the second part in maybe a day or two. But I wanted to get this out there. Like I've said, I want to do more extra butterfeed stuff and put some more into that podcast feed and promote it more. Please enjoy the extra butterfeed shows and enjoy this first part conversation I had with CJ talking about Revenge of the Nerds.
So you asked me what I had in mind in this and why I chose this movie. It's like, as we come from 40 years, it's like there's this one line in the movie that has stuck with me my whole fucking life. It's like an existential type of fucking question, and in this fucking crass and movie you clearly can't make in 2023, but in a way you probably could, because if you were smart about it.
Yeah,
but,
there's
oh Lord. Yeah.
Like,
there's
just right off the bat, like nowadays being a nerd is almost like it's not just computer. Like, I know computers. Like, we live in a technological age now where everybody's technically a computer nerd, but like it's now it's a vast umbrella of, okay, well, these people like wrestling, these people like comic books, these people, not just computers, and you see it in this lineup of people that, I mean, you get the genius child, who's like, I don't want to go to college, I want to be with my own friends, and the outcast, like Booger, who's just poking his nose and just disgusting, the foreigner who has no clue what's going on but is just happy to be there. And yeah, man, I mean, it's this movie. Oh man, if you made it now, you would have to do some really drastic changes. Yeah, dude, like this is probably one, like I said earlier, this is one franchise I didn't really think about covering, because man, when I saw this movie, of course it was years, I was already maybe in college. No, I think it was before college, because I'm from a small town, bro. We didn't get cable TV, like the good cable TV, like Comedy Central, USA, all that, until like I was in high school.
You missed all the Attitude Era, man. This was right, like you said, I was 9-10 years old when this movie came out. So it came out in 84. So I'm like third or fourth grade. Yeah. So I'm like, and so by the time I hit cable, I'm fourth or fifth grade. So watching it through the lens of, burgeoning prepubescence, tremendous words from a West Side brother, San Antonio, you know what I'm saying? Just on the verge of puberty and shit, and girls, and all those movies back in the 80s. It wasn't just Revenge of the Nerds. It was Porky's and Last American Virgin and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. All any of the horrible ones like Summer School and what's the one that Zapped? It was Scott Baio, and we go down that lane.
I remember Summer School, and then
the
80s, just school, Doug.
So Revenge of the Nerds is kind of like, I'm not gonna say it's the airplane of those type of movies and stuff. It's probably like a notch below like Fast Times and Animal House, all that, as far as cult favorites and stuff. Particularly in this cancel culture era and stuff, there's no way. We keep saying that, so I'm gonna stop saying that, because it's obvious. The movie can't clearly be made away. Most of the 80s can't be remade and shit. So I'm gonna stop saying that shit. But yeah, so when I was just being a little kid and sneaking and watching, so at my house, we were like, I was the first family to have cable among my friends and stuff. So it was always, we look at the TV guide, see where we're gonna be staying for the weekend. If it was gonna be some bullshit, we'd be at Kyle's house and we'd watch wrestling and we'd watch we'd go to Blockbuster and rent videos and eat popcorn and tear up his room, do jungle gym shit. Because he had these like army surplus bunk beds and shit. So we used to jungle gym like a motherfucker, little kids and shit. So if Revenge of the Nerds is on TV Guide on Friday or Saturday night, they were spending the night at my house, and we were gonna watch those booby movies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this was one of the gold standards as a young kid in the 80s of booby movies. And fart joke or not fart, burping, picking boogers and boobies. Just perfect for you.
Stuff probably. For like a kid, like no, you can't watch that. Like parents would be like, oh, you can't watch that. But like he's just downstairs with his friends. He's hanging out. They're fine. The boys will be boys. They're just, watching wrestling. And the next thing you like you said, you're watching like Porky's and all this stuff. You're like, pause. Or even like cable TV, you're just like, oh, we got to rent this movie. We got to rent the good version, not the edited shit. We need the good version. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, and also it's like before I was getting ready to go into like middle school and stuff. So I'm trying to imagine what that's gonna be like, lockers and girls and trying to imagine what that shit's gonna be like. And so these movies are kind of like, okay, it's gonna be like, oh, college is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to be in a fraternity. Oh man, but what if I'm a nerd? Oh no, I might have to. Oh, gee. What I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out where I kind of feel like a black booger. A little bit. A lot of comics I hang out with are a bunch of boogers, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially at the elbow room. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dolly kind of looks like a booger, say shout out Brandon Dolly.
So the dynamic between the two friends, that's universal throughout any even buddy cop movies. And you got the one shy, the kind of the I would say the shy, down to earth, which is Gilbert. And then you got Lewis, who just from the very beginning, he's already macking on his friend's mom. Did you notice that? Like he's like, I forget her name, but he greets her, grabs her. Yeah. Oh yeah, like
hello, yeah.
He's like, Gilbert, I could be your father.
Yeah.
I could be. Call me. He has his own little Hugh Hefner pipe and robe and stuff. Like, call me father. Be a good boy. Let's go to school.
So you had like an archetype of the the shy, stereotypical Gilbert being the quiet nerd, and they
oblivious to the fact that they were nerds. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like they were oblivious. They were smart kids. They were into computers.
Definitely Lewis. Definitely Lewis was like a nerd. I'm a fucking nerd. Shit, I'm about to go to college. I'm gonna be a man and I'm gonna score women and shit.
So oblivious to the fact that the girls set him up when they went to go to the Alpha Beta house. Like that one scene where they hear the goat. Yeah, like they're just they're not mean girls. They're gonna help us out. They're gonna help us get into a fraternity. Like so oblivious to that fact. And when it happens, he's like, no, Sarah Beth wouldn't, or I forget her name. Sarah Beth wouldn't do that, or whatever her name was.
Betty Childs, you talking about?
Yeah.
You talking about? The girl that
Betty,
that was all sized.
Maybe that was a Freudian slip. Maybe the Sarah Beth from my childhood. If you're listening.
Oh shit! Go ahead.
So that all happens, and like we kind of talked a little bit about when they go for the penny raid. Could that still fly today? Could that still fly, or is that something like?
Absolutely not. So go back to the beginning of that, where the party scene where the Moose showed up, right, and the party was dead. They're doing the fucking whack ass talent show. Ewan Jefferson, who's the head of the Lambda chapter, who's evaluating whether the nerds, accepted after their probationary period. And then they break out the Wonder joints. Everyone's chilling, having a good time. Boogers grabbing asses. Big girls are fighting over him and shit. And you know what? As a 49-year-old man, not a 9-year-old kid, as I'm watching them 14 moves trample in through the door, there's about 10 that get it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not
Like,
all of
what
them
was
are.
I thinking 40 years ago? Some of these
But
dudes,
this was,
and even
yeah,
as a
this
little
was
kid,
the
a couple of them,
80s. Yeah, this was
yeah,
the 80s standards of, oh, you're not skinny and you're not short, you're these tall. But there was, yeah, like there was some.
yeah,
I
man.
mean,
There's
I
a
like
couple,
big women, you know what I mean?
there's a couple little something somethings up in there, man.
More
But my
cushion for the
favorite
cushion.
scene, my favorite, the really the whole reason why I wanted to even do this show in this episode with you, bro, and this movie in particular, is because in that scene, in that party scene, when they're getting high and they're having a good time, they getting a freak on and shit, and moves are hooking up. Poindexter sitting on the couch with that girl with the green dress
Yeah,
and the glasses, right? And they smoking weed or whatever. And he asked her, he said, "Would you rather live in the ascendancy of a civilization or during its decline?" And
yeah.
she responds,
That's fuck.
"Poindexter, you want to fuck or not?" You know what I'm saying? But that
Yeah.
question right there, I don't know why. But
She didn't give a fuck. She was like, I don't want to die a virgin.
yeah,
Give me that
yeah.
Poindexter dick.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm 40 years later, I'm still pondering that fucking question, man. It's like, and I'm like, are we in the decline of a civilization and shit? Is the shit going down? That's kind of had that feeling. And that,
Oh
as a
shit.
little kid, you had that shadow of like nuclear war being on the verge of that and shit like that. So I kind of felt like we were on the decline of it, and at the same time on the converse. So would you rather live at the end of the Roman Empire per se, or would you rather live at the beginning of the birth of the United States as a Latino? You know what I'm saying?
The beginning wasn't
Yeah,
pretty, and the fall of it, it's like,
especially for our skin tone.
yeah, yeah, exactly. To be honest, a rise of any civilization would probably be good, but the fall is going to end
You
up to
think about it.
another rise, if you know what I
While you're
mean.
living, you're at the top of the food chain, and depending on how much your life is the good life before shit falls apart. If
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, it's on the good. But if you're like if like in our position where we are, the way civils, what if we were on the beginning of the collapse of that shit? You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah, like I was like,
being on the beginning of a new society, that would
that's
be
yeah. I feel if you're living in the fall of a civilization, you're at the beginning of a new civilization. So you can learn from your mistakes in a way, and you still be maybe teach your kids and grandkids, hey, this is what not to do, build this better civilization. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm
I
gonna
guess
have
it
to go
depends.
with the latter.
But it depends on what team, like what team you're on. Are you on the team of the one that's fallen, or you're on the team that's trying to rise?
I'm done. Oh, shit.
Ooh,
I
see,
didn't
see,
know we were on teams.
I've asked
I'm living
versions
in
of
the
that
moment.
question. Huh? See, I've asked versions of that question for fucking 40 years. Fucking titty movie, titty and nerds and fart jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Hey man, if a movie doesn't make you think, is it really an entertaining movie?
yeah, it's a question that kind of it's a philosoph and there's a couple of philosophical nuggets that are kind of sprinkled throughout here and shit. You know, they talked about um nerds are uh when the jocks were in the locker room and they said these nerds are a threat to our way of life. And in a way, maybe it's this grade of Iranian tobacco. Shout out to my plug, bro. But I was like, as I'm thinking, I was like, yeah, those nerds were a threat to the way of life. And you smash cut to now, you talk about how the nerd culture is being more accepted now. Conan talks about it now too. He's like, being a nerd now, it's like, okay, I'm not making fun of it. I think it's cool that nerds have, they're able to have a culture and can be nerds without getting fucked with and shit. And so, yeah, it was the jock way of life, and there's still bullying and all that shit going around, but that there is kind of like a more nerd acceptance these days. And
And it's
there was another line. There's another line in there towards the end where Gilbert grabs the microphone from the jocks and they're talking, and he said, no one's ever really going to be free until nerd persecution ends. And look, as nerd culture got accepted, LGBT more letters and LGBT started coming out. Trans is accepted, so
yeah.
for real. So that literally happened as nerds got accepted. More society you can be comfortable in your own, and that's kind of really the point of that movie. I think was the battle to just be accepted for who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not
Everybody's got
persecuted
some
for
nerd
being
in them.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody got some nerd in them, and hell, literally in some cases in that movie, what's his name? Forced his nerd into Betty Childs and shit. Nothing.
On the moon. Boing. Uh,
I don't have a kazoo sounder yet. I got to get one.
Hope you guys enjoyed the first part of my conversation with CJ, talking about Revenge of the Nerds. The second part is I was gonna just throw it both together, the two conversations, but I like you know what, I hit that 15-minute mark, and I think the second part, you know, it had some good meat and potatoes in it too. So I'm just gonna do a two-parter, and please, please, please do yourself a solid. Go follow CJ on all the social medias. Links are gonna be in the description. He's a very cool dude, and I'm not too sure if I should keep some of the stand-up conversation we talked about. Maybe keep it for another Spinsters episode. But very cool time talking to CJ, and very, very interesting movie pick because, like I said in the intro, I haven't covered that franchise yet. I will now, but yeah, part two coming out soon. So, with that being said, take care of yourself and the people you love. Until next time, Nanu Nanu. Peace.